Texas County, Arkansas Board of Directors together to order. And at this time, we'll have a roll call.
Director Hollibush?
Here.
Director Brewer?
Here.
Director Jewell?
Here.
Assistant Mayor Hart?
Here.
Director Roberts?
Here.
Director Harris?
Here.
Mayor Brown?
Here. This time, we'll stand for our invocation. Director Harris has a guest for the invocation.
Well,
tonight.
it's the Miss, I guess Sister Chris Owens gonna do it.
And our
She will
president.
come in
Okay.
when my time is up, so I just went out there and asked before the meeting to save all the other things.
And our pledge of allegiance will be directed by our regional airport director, Paul Maryland. Yes, ma'am.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time. We thank you, Father, for allowing us to gather together in this meeting at this time. Pray, oh Father, for these men that they will make decisions that will be a blessing to our city, oh God. We thank you for being in the midst. We call all things done, and so in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Paul?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. This time, we'll move right on into our citizens' communication time. I have 3 people so far that want to address the board tonight. We have 3 people. If you wish to address the board tonight, if you'll fill out a citizens' communication card on the ledge and get that to our city clerk, she can get that to me. We can have a record of you speaking. First on, Miss Mary McQueen wants to discuss open burning.
Okay, last Monday, August the 26th, about 5:30, I was contacted by a friend of mine that said that there was some open burning going on at 623 Pinehurst. They had a big fire going. They're doing some remodeling work on that house, apparently. They had a big fire going, and I didn't see anybody around looking after the fire. So I called the fire department. And I have to say that I'm very pleased with their performance. They came out within minutes. They put the fire out. The fire had spread because where they had it burning, it was close to some bushes, and there was trees beyond that. It wasn't very far from the house. The next day, August 27th, I went and talked to Chief Fletcher at the firehouse. And I told him about the incident that happened the day before. And I told him I'd call him the next time I saw people there. And hopefully he would come out and talk to them. I called him and got his voicemail. I left a message. Never heard from him again. Thursday, I called him. I talked to him at the firehouse Tuesday. Thursday, I called him. Okay, and that's when I got the voicemail. The same day, about 7:15, they were out there burning again. But this time, there were people still there. I called the fire department again. They came out within minutes and put the fire out. In 2020, about 4 years ago, I had the same problem with 723 Pinehurst. I called the fire department a few times on that place. One time, there was nobody watching the fire. They actually dismantled a big motorhome, and burned the contents. Now, as you know, motorhomes have toxic materials in them. But nobody did anything to stop them. I have to say that I'm very disappointed that Chief Fletcher didn't contact me again, because I don't know if this is going to happen again. And that's all I got to say about it.
Thank you. Chris Owens, Community Cleanup.
Mr. Mayor, Board, just want to remind the Board that on Saturday, this Saturday coming, we are doing our community cleanup that will be hosted at the Texarkana, Arkansas Rec Center. We're looking for a great turnout, and we are going to target 5 areas in each ward to do minor pick up trash and small debris. But we just believe that we can help keep our own city clean. There's a lot of expectancy we know from the city and Mr. Tyler's department, but we also know that we as the community, as the citizens of Texarkana, can do some things. And so this is our second year of having this cleanup. It was hosted the first year at the Mount Grove Baptist Church with Pastor Kenneth Reed, and this year we're going to be again at the Arkansas Rec Center. And we would hope to see some of your guys' face there. We'll meet there at 7 o'clock a.m. and we'll just get started and get out there and get done what we plan to get done and be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bethany Hannah.
Hi, I'm Bethany. I just wanted to bring to your attention something. My husband and I own property in the Quality Hill Historic District, and that's the J.K. Wadley House at 618 Pecan, the Mullins Court Apartments, 605 Hickory, and the house we live in, the Garrison McLean House at the corner of 6th and Pecan there. And for the last 24 years, we've been restoring and maintaining these historic properties, and pretty much devoted our whole lives and feels like all of our money into fixing these places up and trying to improve the neighborhood. And we furnish several of our units, our apartments and our properties, and rent them to people coming into Texarkana for short-term employment, like travel nurses who come for a few months, people at Red River that have a contract. We've had a pro golfer that came in for a tournament. People who need a furnished place to stay for a while, but they don't plan to move and live in Texarkana. And then we also have some apartments that are standard apartments where local people do live here locally, and we provide for them. And those are people like, just average people, teachers, bank tellers, nursing students, just normal people. And right now we're just feeling really defeated because, we've always had local homeless folks who they'll pass by the house going down to the Catholic church to the Blue House for meals and stuff. And you kind of knew them, and you exchange smiles and nods, and be like, hey, but the last year or so, we've just had such an uptick in people who aren't local, who are in, transient, vagrant people. And just this last week, it's just been overwhelming. And I don't know, maybe it's the clearing out of the further north, and they're migrating their way down. But it's just become a real issue. In the alley that runs behind our house, they'll just be hanging out, or they'll be digging in the dumpster and they're just throwing trash everywhere, and then we have a big mess to clean up. And the bank next to our apartment building used to be the Wells Fargo in the corner of Hickory there. It's abandoned, owner lives out of town, the fence is falling down, not being maintained, and there's just people keep setting up encampments, and I have to call the police, and they come out and they'll move, but they just move further down the blocks, they're still there. And then, there's clothing and shopping carts and feces and garbage everywhere. It's just become a real problem, and it's making it really difficult for us to rent our places out. And that's our livelihood. We've spent our lives fixing those up, and we've got 2 boys, seniors in high school, who want to go to college, and we've got mortgages, and if we can't rent the places, we can't pay the mortgages. If we can't pay the mortgages, then we've lost our livelihood. And not only that, but for our tenants that we advocate for, they lose a place. We try to make it affordable, so just average people can have a really nice, historic, big, large place to live. And we all kind of feel like family. We're right there on the block too. So it's bad all around for everybody. And I know it's a delicate situation. And, I prayed about my words, what I would say and how they would be taken, that they'd be taken the right way and I'd say the right thing, because I do care. I don't want to be heartless. I wish we could set aside some acreage somewhere, people could go that need help, that are down on the luck, and they'd have a place to stay and we could help them. But we also are trying to provide places for people to live here and have a safe place and a clean place, and just be able to provide for our families. And also, it gets to the point where I feel, some of you aren't old enough probably, but I feel sometimes like Mrs. Kravitz from Bewitched. You know, I call the police and, you know, and I worry that it's perceived as, oh, it's that lady again, you know, and I called them. Right now, there's a couple living out of a car in that bank parking lot, and they're yelling at each other. They've got a barking dog. And one of my tenants called, and then I called, and the operator said, well, it's already been reported, we've already responded. And that the people had said they were waiting for a wrecker to come get their car. Well, now it's been 3 days. And they're living out of the car. You know, we've taken some pictures. Obviously, all their stuff's in the car. But when we called and said they're still there, they're like, we've already responded. And the people in the car actually said, the police told me we could stay here. Now, I don't think that's true. I don't think our police department would, you know, illegally tell somebody, yeah, you can be a squatter on somebody else's private property. But that's what they're saying, you know, so I'm at a loss. You know, our neighborhood's always kind of been at this tipping point, and I need your help. I feel like it's all falling apart, and I don't know what to do, but something needs to be done.
Lane?
Yes, me and Ms. Hannah talked about this a little earlier, and I did recommend that she do come to the board, and I was telling her that, which I noticed the chief is not here tonight, because I was telling him when the guy came here from on Drone Street, the problem he was having with the homeless, where he was, when, I don't know if the guy really was homeless, but he was posted up in the house across the street. Then after he got through talking, him and the chief met outside, and when I saw him later on, he said his problem was resolved. So I guess next thing we probably can do is I can get a hold to the chief and see can you have a meeting with y'all and get y'all some information. Well, and I'm going to email me those pictures you have, and I guess I try to get his email and let him see the picture and see what type of thing can go on from that, because I'm saying that I think that he would probably be able to help with your issues. I just know that the last board person that came up here from Ward 2 and had the issue, and like, and I tell people, yeah, if you got an issue and the city haven't solved it, public works haven't solved it, come to the board and and let the board hear it, let the public hear it, and see what type of response you get. I think you're gonna get a valid response. But make a long story short, that the chief, he's not here, so I'll make sure he get the information and,
Okay.
and see how he can help resolve y'all problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
The one and only Pete Cheatham.
Good afternoon, the late, great Mayor Brown. Okay,
Maybe I ought to check. I thought I was sitting here.
all right. But anyway, I'm kind of pushed for time because I got another meeting I got to go to, and I kind of brief Harder Bush on some question, and I'm going to read them out, and you can defer or get back with us, because I know y'all got a lot going on, so I better do my little thing now. Okay, the first one is overgrowth, weed, and grass that create a safety problem in people seeing and etc. It's the grass, tree, and etc. debris from the recent storm. The citizens in our community would like to request a meeting with you on some update with the Iron Meadow project and the ordinance resolution. And what was the Tennessee Road project about? And will we get an upgrade in our ward? So those are the only questions I have to ask you. You can respond if you want to, but since you're going to have a meeting with us, I don't think you need to respond at this time. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board tonight during citizens' communication time? Anyone else wish to address the board? If not, we'll move into our couple of presentations tonight. Our first is a yes.
She speaks up. She's going to talk to to us.
Our Employee Service Awards, I believe we have one here. Jenny, which one is present?
Hi, Anthony.
Okay. So we have three we're recognizing tonight. First will be Ms. Hortense Shivers for the Police Department Receptionist, 25 years. And then we have a Mr. James Atkinson with TWU for 5 years. Y'all give him a round of applause. And we have one present tonight, Mr. Ty Anthony Jones with TWU, 5 years. At this time, we'll recognize our Airport Director, Paul Merrick, for a presentation and our quarterly financial report.
Good evening. Let me see if... There we go. All right, so for our second quarter budget totals, we'd received $1,412,889. That revenue less the two cities subsidy is $737,111. Expenditures to date is $1,088,076. So revenues minus expenditures is $351,879. If you take away the subsidy, it is a negative $350,966. A large portion of that is because when we did the two cities reimbursement in January, that then posted as an expense for the year, and as we go through the year, that will end up getting adjusted. Operations have been down. Operations count as takeoffs or landings. This has been consistently down over the last 3 years. It just has not come back from COVID. We do get a lot of feedback from pilots about fuel costs at the airport, which is something we do not directly control. Enplanements are down for this same time last year. Last year we had closer to 4,000. A lot of that has to go with last year we had 3 flights a day. Now we have 2 flights a day. That is causing a different number to go up, though. Parking revenue has stayed level with what we had last year. Same thing with rental car revenue. Load factor, and this is what we look at for what percentage of the aircraft is full. It has gone from 56% to about 79%. So the airlines see that we are more profitable to operate from. They would like to see that that gets to about an average of 85% before they either add a third flight or a new route to Charlotte. We are having conversations with them, though, because of some ticket pricing issues. We see that those last few seats are very difficult to purchase. We've received images where people have seen over $1,000 to have a one-way flight to DFW, and we know that that's not going to sell. So we're having conversations with them to adjust that. Yes, sir.
Let me interrupt. The emplanements are down, but how about the total number of passengers going in? I mean, the planes are carrying more, less
Yes.
planes. So can you enlighten me as far as the numbers flying in and out?
So last year, since the aircraft holds about 65, having 3 flights, 4,000 people still was not enough to fill those planes completely full. And so having the 2 flights, we only lost about 1,000 passengers, but the number of seats that you have is closer to than that 4,000. And so what they were doing is what they call right sizing. They were trying to bring the number of seats down to about what we had in total numbers last year. And so that's why you're seeing the airplanes being more full. And so they see that as a higher profitability for each of those 2 flights.
Total number of people flying in and out of Texarkana may not be that much reduced.
It went down about 1,000 people. Yes, sir.
So
month.
Paul, So Paul,
You're saying we're 80% full on the 2 flights, basically.
That is correct.
Is that why we lost that 3rd flight? Because we had so low of encampments?
Yes. Last year, where it was about that 56%, they want to see that much higher. And so they've been dealing with problems of pilot shortages. This is an industry-wide problem. They also tried to reduce it down from, we used to have an aircraft that was 50 seats, we went up in size, and so they want to see that airplane then more full. So
what does it got to be to get that 3rd flight back?
that's where they will want to see it closer to 85. That's about another 500, but they want to see it averaged. So a challenge that we have is during the summertime, we have peak. In August, when people go back to school, it always tends to dip down. In January and February, it really dips down because it's cold, it's snowy, people aren't as traveling as much. So we're trying to work through some of those issues because in some ways they've created a goal that is nearly impossible for us to meet. And so they either have to be willing to come down on that number of seats, somewhere closer to 80% load factor we would be able to meet, or they're going to need to adjust their ticket prices because we feel that the ticket prices is too high and they're making it so those final seats really can't be sold.
So what does it got to get it below to lose one of those 2 flights?
We would have to go down again about 56% before we would lose one of
Okay.
those flights. We're safe where they are right now.
Okay.
Paul, for you, the rental car revenue, is that the percentage that the airport gets to keep?
Yes.
Okay, we didn't have any in 2023, or there was no change?
It was just no change. So we didn't lose. Even though less people were flying out of us, we still saw about the same number of people renting cars.
Paul, if you will you elaborate on your load factor? Does that have anything to do with, I guess, your work personnel?
For our personnel numbers?
Yeah.
No. Load factor is simply, they look at the number of passengers to the number of seats on the airplane. So the airline will look at it as the higher the load factor, the more profitable the flight. So they want to see those numbers over 60, and then once they see it close into the mid-80s, that's where they start to talk about expanding because they feel that there's enough people to put onto another plane without making both those flights unprofitable.
All right, thanks.
We've begun tracking the fuel sales numbers. This is actually done by signature. And so we are tracking that each month they're only selling about 3,000 gallons of avgas, which is the smaller general aviation market. And they're selling about 40,000 gallons of the jet. So you can see some of those, again, complaints that we'll get from the general aviation community is that the FBO really caters to the jet traffic and not to that smaller general aviation crowd, and we can see that then through those fuel cell numbers. So this is tracking then by quarter the operations. You can see they've been going down year over year. Enplanements for second quarter, we're down. First quarter, we're higher, so we'll track as where we go into third quarter. Last year, we did very good in third and fourth quarters. Parking revenue has been slightly up in the second quarter, but is pretty much, when you look at it along, it really hasn't changed too much. Rental car revenue has been higher, and then you can see the load factor numbers went up quite a bit. And then landing fee revenue. Landing fee revenue is tied not only to the airline, but also to the general aviation, really to the jets. It has to be over 12,500 pounds before we will charge them a landing fee. And then, I sent this a while ago. So the next meeting is actually going to be September 26th at the terminal building.
Oh, I got a question. I met with one of the directors, the airport directors, board members, excuse me, the other day. The parking fees that they're discussing.
Yes, sir.
As part of the solar array, the projections were a $13 parking fee. Now, your report on this one that was furnished to us, which I don't know, I think y'all redone the board. has made a motion to redo that. But is there talk of changing that to $10 or something? What is the motion that the airport board is talking about, the fees for the parking now?
So I did bring up at the last board meeting that it's been requested that we relook at that price. I made recommendations of either that we do, where currently it's 10 and 12, that we may either do 12 just across for both parking lots, because there are some people who are kind of avoiding the covered parking because of the higher fee, or to do the $13 that had been originally recommended. The board tabled it for the month, and they will bring it back up at this month.
Okay, well, again, you know, one of the projections was, or one of the justifications for the solar rate was the increase in the revenues generated by the covered parking.
Yes, sir.
Now, so if you make everything the same price, your argument for the covered parking kind of is no longer justified. So, no discussion of 13 to 14 or something like that? I mean, to me, again, your argument for justification for the covered parking goes away, and so thus the cost of the solarway should have been, the covered parking is no longer justified in my view. It should have been off-site, much less cost than the cover. To me, there has to be some kind of justification.
Yes, $13 and $14 have both been brought up to the board. They do have some concern about what the price of parking is in comparison to Shreveport's airport.
Well, but it's my personal view. I mean, the market is not Shreveport, the market is
Yes,
Texas
sir.
County. And I drive by the airport every few days just look for that reason, just looking at parking. And people are parking there every day. I don't think looking at the Shreveport market has anything to do with whether people in Texarkana will park at the parking lot out there versus Texarkana. So I think there needs to be serious discussion to keep a difference in the covered parking versus the non-covered, because again, the justification for that solar rate goes away, in my view, if there's not some difference.
Yes, sir, and I will bring your comments back to my
I
board.
appreciate it.
So, Paul, some of these grants that you've got, that I've looked at, is there any of that money you're gonna use to expand parking out there? Because what I'm being told is there's not enough room for everybody to park out there.
So
Is
the.
that true?
So there's actually, in total, there is more parking, about 100 spaces more than the old parking lot, but majority of those parking are in the covered parking. There had been about 80 spots in the uncovered parking that, as part of, to keep this under budget value engineering, we had to reduce 80 spots down. So there are approximately 80 spaces in the uncovered parking, yet there is about 170 in the covered parking. So there is more parking, it's just under the higher rate.
Just wondering why people are telling me there's not enough parking. They're avoiding the covered parking and parking in the.
Yes, sir.
When there's not a spot, they're parking on the side over there to
Yes, sir.
avoid it.
Yeah, we've been having people park onto the grass or onto markings to avoid the covered parking, yes, sir.
I'd run a blue light special on the covered parking for $5 a day just to get people used to parking up there and get some revenue coming in.
That's right.
They're avoiding it. But that's what's happening. They're just not parking under there.
Yes, sir.
Any more questions for Paul?
I got a
Okay.
question coming. I noticed when I was going to Chicago about a month ago, that they, NLC, which National League of City, they were gonna give me $400 for a round trip flight, and I would ask them why would they give me $400, and I guess they maybe thought I was gonna fly out of Dallas or something, but when I did look up on Dallas, flight from Chicago, it was like the cheapest I saw was $149. Now, if I wasn't paying that, if I was paying that myself, that sure do look enticing, versus $300 and I think it was $79, what they end up paying for me to fly out from Texas County to Chicago. So I'm saying that the charge, or the amount what American Airlines does charge, I think that does have a difference in why people use that. And I know if you in county, saying where you got to drive to Dallas, you got to pay for parking and all the other stuff, but if you were taking a family of 3 to 4 and flying out of Texarkana and you going $149 round trip, that still look enticing to drive to Dallas. But to make a long story short, I do think American Airlines need to look at their pricing, and I know they're trying to make a profit. So everybody that's in business, I know they want to make a profit, but for you to get more usage out of this airport, this multi-million-dollar airport, I think they need to look at what they charge. And then the other thing people been asking me about is the signs you have. They saying that the signs you got is too small, especially at night. People can't see them if you're trying to get there at night. In the daytime, it's not a big issue, but at night you need bigger, better signs. I'm trying to get to the airport. I know you can go down 19th Street off of 67, keep on 19th Street to make a left turn there. But some people who just not trying to get there, I had somebody call me 2 or 3 times, and then when they did call me, they couldn't see that little sign that y'all, who put the sign there and who's responsible for the sign?
So the signs of the small airplane with the arrow,
Right.
those are put in by the state, and it's their standard symbol. We don't have any control of the streets outside of the airport. We are working on getting quotes for 4 signs. One that would go over by the entrance of the old terminal, and then Abernathy is allowing us to put 2 signs on their property. So as a person comes off of Jim Walters, that they would be able to see a larger sign that says that take a left for a mile. There's one that we will put on at East 19th Street and Old Post Road, which will then have a left arrow going into the airport. And then we have one that we will put where the old police station was on East 19th, which is a straight arrow for people who've come off the freeway.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe they were referring to 19th Street, and I thought 19th Street was a city street, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I talked to Paul prior to the meeting. They've got a sign for the Texarkana Food Bank right there. I said, just put that other sign for the airport right below it. He seems to think it might be Kyler, can you get with him? And I'm sure that we can put a sign on that same pole that the food bank's got one.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the exact pole that you're talking about,
Well,
but Paul and I have discussed placing some additional signage out there. We've got we have to use MUTCD approved signs on our roads, so it's a little bit tricky with that. But there are some larger guide signs that we can place with some, terminal language on it. We're looking at putting those up. But yes, Paul and I have discussed this, and we're working on getting some additional signage on 19th. Now, you've got all the state highways around there. We can't do anything about that. That's all on RDOT. But yes, we are working together to get some additional signage.
Signs. Can you guys not make those signs?
Yes, we can make signs. We can't make everything. So I believe some of the signs that he's talking about, we don't have the stencils for. We don't have the images for it to make them. So we are somewhat limited in what we can make, but we can do some larger guide signs for sure.
So Paul, last question real quick. What was the encampments for the Houston flight?
They got up to about 50% full before they pulled out. They were only there in operation for 4 months.
That's not what they agreed to, though. They agreed to do it for 6 months.
They agreed to do it for a full year.
A full year, that's right.
That's correct.
And they pulled out after 4 months.
Yes, sir.
At less than 50 encampments.
That's right.
Any other questions? Thanks, Paul. You can just stay right there probably. Consent agenda's next. The only item we have on our consent agenda tonight is approval of the minutes of a regular meeting on August 19th. What would be the desire of the board?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Let's have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The consent agenda passes. Moving in, we have two items on our regular agenda tonight. The first is to adopt a resolution to amend the fiscal year 2025 airport budget to include the removal of the real estate position. Paul?
So as requested, we went back and removed any of the salary increases. We went ahead and also removed the salary for the real estate manager position that was open. This has been reapproved by the airport board and by the Texas side. And we will bring an amendment request pending the city determining what any increases they may have.
Anybody have any questions of that? All right, thanks, Paul. Our next item is to adopt a resolution approving the TW. Hold on that, don't you? Yes, yes.
You want me to read it?
Oh. Well, I thought he was bringing the thing back. Let's let the city attorney read the resolution.
Whereas Resolution Number 2024-61 approved the fiscal year 2025 airport budget, and whereas since the resolution's passing, the airport wishes to modify the budget by removing the real estate position, and it is necessary to amend Resolution Number 2024-61 to include the amended fiscal year 2025 airport budget. Now therefore be it resolved by the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that Resolution Number 2024-61 is amended to include the fiscal year 2025 airport budget without the real estate position, and the same is hereby approved as amended, passed and approved this third day of September 2024.
City attorney's read the resolution. What will be the desire of the board?
Motion
Mr. Adopt.
So we
Second.
have a motion and a second to adopt. Any other discussion? Could you call a roll?
Hollibush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Abstain.
Brown,
Yes. And the resolution passes. Moving right along to item number 5, adopt a resolution approving the TWU 24-25 budget. Gary and Tricia.
Good evening, Directors and Mayor. I prepared a brief presentation for you to give you an overview into our proposed budget for 2025. Before I get into that, I did want to go over some of our accomplishments for our current budget year. Our second debt issuance is in progress for approximately $24 million in funds. We hope to have those funds probably December, maybe January at the latest. Our contract for the Johnson Controls AMI project was approved. That's an 18-month completion. We hope to start that pretty soon. Plummer completed a master plan of our water system. We have started some of the project work for the 2023 bond issuance. We have completed an 8-inch sewer extension for Jefferson Avenue at a cost of $293,000. Holistic Utility Solutions was hired for the utility billing data audit. We're in the process of gathering the requested data for them to begin. They're going to be auditing all of our billed accounts for errors. Our customer service department is still continuing to encourage communication via email and self-service through our portal for most customers. We have seen an increase in email communications as compared to phone calls. We do track that on a monthly basis. Dix Creek sewer trunk main project is in progress. So for our new budget year, we've set a few goals we want to go over with you as well. We hope to complete the majority of the project work for the 2023 revenue bonds. We hope to begin some of the project work for the 2024 revenue bonds. We would like to be able to complete the utility billing data audit and present the results. Begin installation of the AMI system to include the leak detection on the water mains, as well as complete the Astera satellite leak detection project so we can reduce water loss throughout the distribution system. Johnson Controls will also begin an energy audit for TWU at approximately $300,000 cost. And then we're going to begin identification of our water service lines. This identification must be completed by October of 2027. This next slide just gives you the Arkansas and Texas ratios for our current budget as compared to our new budget. Currently, 40.67% of expenditures is Arkansas, with the rest going to Texas. For 2025, you've got about a 1.5% increase. The Arkansas portion moving to 42.21%, and that is based off pumpages as of 9/30/23. Texas Municipal Retirement System, the employer contributions will go down slightly from $16.97 to $16.51. There's no change for the employees. They'll still contribute 7% of their gross pay.
Trish, what's the reason for that?
On the ratio?
The decrease on the ratio.
It's based on actual water pumpage. We take the pumpage of the two Texarkanas
Yeah.
and just do a percent. This next slide just gives you an overview of the main items that affect our budget. Chemical costs being our largest one. Aluminum sulfate this year had 3% decrease. It was 3% increase last year. Caustic soda went down 14%. It decreased 12% last year, so it's going down even more. Liquid chlorine, 5% increase, whereas last year it increased 13%. And then polymers, a 5% decrease, as opposed to a 12% decrease last year. Regarding salary cost, our budget proposes a salary increase of 3% for all TW employees. There's some additional compensation adjustments to bring some of the employees to the minimum of the pay grade. Our salaries are budgeted assuming full employment, so our budget contains 200 funded positions. We're proposing to add 2 new positions this budget year. The cost I'm showing you does include the salary and the benefits, 35% benefit overhead approximately. The proposed positions to add is IT Systems Analyst 2. That was recommended by our cybersecurity audit. This is $62,000 annual base with a car allowance of $37.50. And then 1 part-time administration clerk for environmental services at a cost of $30,663. And then we also are facing an increase for the employer portion of group insurance of around 12%. As far as our revenue side, we're going to be implementing year 4 of our rate increases for water and sewer, which are approximately 16%.
Where are we at on funded positions right now?
How many are filled? Probably about 190. So this next slide gives you an overview of our operating divisions. We have 20 different departments, not including Leary and Miller County. But this gives you the comparison of what we set for 24 as compared to our new budget year. And you can see across the board, we have a total increase of 0.47%. Gary and I really made it a point this year to go through these budgets, make sure they're practical, but yet fiscally responsible.
Last year, it was over 5% increase, so we're really proud of this. The guys
I'm gonna tell you, outstanding job. I always look forward to your budget because I know you're gonna do a great job, but I looked at that number and I thought you guys did some hard work. And I appreciate that.
Thank you. This next slide just gives you kind of an overview of revenues compared to expenditures. The first 2 bars on the left is for 2023. The 2 bars in the middle is for our current budget year. And the 2 bars on the right is for our proposed budget year. You can see in 2023 with revenues on the left and expenses on the right how close those numbers were. And you can see in the future budget years we've had a little bit more separation between our expenditures and revenues. So for our current budget year, for Arkansas Fund only, we're proposing to end the year with just over $1.5 million in ending fund balance, which is 42 days of reserves. If you're looking at Arkansas, Mandeville, and Union all together, that's going to be a combined balance of $2.2 million for 56 days of reserves. For our proposed budget, for Arkansas Fund only, we're proposing that we're going to have 51 days of reserves with an ending fund balance of $2.1 million. Combined all funds, which is Arkansas, Mandeville, and Union, we're going to end with approximately 74 days of reserves with about $3.2 million in ending fund balance. And with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Ms. Briggs, remind me again, on the, out of the 4 rate increases, what number are we on?
What number are we?
Yeah, We're going first rate increase, second,
This is year 4. This was the last set of rate increases. Next year, it was going to go to CPI only.
Any more questions?
Good to have you back, Gary.
Thank you, glad to be back.
Great job. No other questions, instruct us, yes, okay, go ahead.
I was trying to find that. I noticed, I don't know what page I was on, but it may be more for you if there's than her, if you don't mind. It was about replacing of the galvanized and lead
Yes, sir.
sewage and recognizing and the sewage pipe for the water line.
Yes, sir, it's the customer service lines.
Uh-huh.
Right,
I did see in here that you're gonna use $600,000. What area is that at? Do you still?
no, we have, no, down there, the 600,000, you're talking the bond money?
I don't know. I
It
just,
was in the bond money.
okay,
But we're hoping not have to do any of it because the state of Arkansas is actually paying for everything.
right,
Well, they backed off a little bit. They're running out of money. And we just
Okay.
got notified last month while I was out that they hired a consultant that's doing the whole state of Arkansas. So October 16th of this year is when we have to turn in our list of every service line. Of course, there'll be a lot of unknowns. You don't have to have them physically identified. You just have to do a paper survey. When the year built, what the code of ordinance was at the time, and, we can identify it that way. But by October 27th, we have to physically identify all those that we have unknown. And the state of Arkansas originally was supposed to pay for all of it. Now they're back now a little bit, but they're hoping to get some more money in from EPA to cover it all. Texas they're not paying anything. We don't qualify for any grants, anything. We're going to pay for everything. But Arkansas is still unknown. So we had put $600,000 in there just as a placeholder to get started. But we won't really get started until after this is turned in October this year and get identified and get approved by the state. Then next year we'll start. We're supposed to do, I think it's 3% a year of the service lines that we have and start changing them out. And be complete by October 27th.
Any other questions? If not, I'd instruct the city attorney to read the resolution.
Whereas the fiscal year 2024 to 2025 Texarkana Water Utilities budget has been submitted to the Board of Directors for review, and whereas the TW staff recommends approval of the budget as presented to the board with the income and expense allocations set forth therein, and whereas the acting city manager and TW staff recommend approval, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the fiscal year 2024 to 2025 TWU budget attached hereto and made a part hereof is hereby approved. Pass and approved this third day of September 2024.
City attorney's read the resolution. What would be the desire of the board?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Let's have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Calabash,
Yes.
Brewer,
yes.
Jewell,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
yes.
Brown.
Yes. Resolution passes. Board commentary, does any board member have anything they would like to address?
I guess I do.
Okay.
I guess the other week that the city was tearing down some houses, which, the houses, I think some on Walter Street, I can't come off the street, Walter Street, Delaware Street, I think he's supposed to do one on Preston Street, one for Kirby. But the point what I'm trying to make is this, which me and Tyler had this discussion, that we do need some type of housing program in place now. How we gonna get there, I don't know, but we need something called drive around Ward 2 and partial Ward 3. It's decimated, you got a whole lot of vacant lots. And then if you notice that each year when we get the grass cutting request, I think last time 99.9% of them was out of Ward 2 from vacant lots, from houses that was tore down. But, and my question is, which I, like I said, talking to Tyler about this, that I guess the question is, do you think that you're gonna put out an RP? Do you think, when is the timeline? Do you think, I guess the first question, do we have a housing issue here? If you don't think we don't have one, then you might not see if we have, you may not need a housing person over housing. But I'm just saying this, there's millions of dollars out there for the city to get if we had some type of housing coordinator that, so I guess I'm just putting that out there and just trying to let the public know the world is, and trying to see when we gonna start seeing some type of action on trying to get a housing person here, so we can go after this grant money and try to fix up, put some houses in Ward 2. Not only that, fix up the houses, because I think there is a program that if you're over 65 or older, that keep you staying in your house, where there was grant money to help you fix up your house and you stay in your house. So the money is out there, but I guess when is the city going head in that direction of trying to get a housing person?
I agree with you completely. I think probably 98% of the cities in the United States have a housing issue. Everyone's got it. And yes, we've got a lot of work to do to combat that. I will be starting that process with our budget process. So we're just getting into budget, putting together some projections now. We have in our ordinances set up I don't remember exactly what it's called, but it's a housing board. I think you're familiar with it. I don't know that we will be able to actually hire an employee devoted to housing or not, or like we discussed the other day, possibly put out an RFP for one of the nonprofits to run the program or something like that. But there's certainly CDBG money there for it, lots of other opportunities like NLC, like you were speaking of, and that is something that I would like to include in this year's budget. So we'll be getting into that as we go through the budget process. So hopefully I've got a full plan for y'all come October, November, when we get into budget workshops.
Any other comments from board members?
Just a reminder, this Saturday at 7 o'clock at the what? Rec Center. I had a senior moment. 7 a.m. I heard that Pastor Owens is cooking biscuits and gravy and some bacon. And so come out and help clean up the city.
Any other? Tyler, you have anything?
No, I don't have much. Chief Chadway's not here tonight. They're having civil service promotional exams this evening. So I know he's pushing that real hard, trying to get as many folks to test as possible. We had a great, Chief and I had a great meeting with the police department last week. It was very positive, and I hope we'll see a large turnout for those exams.
Great job on the report. No other business at this time. The board will convene into executive session to discuss our vacant city manager's position. We'll excuse all guests and staff, please.